And welcome in, everybody. We are live right here on the Final Judgment. I'm your host, Tony Cutillo, brought to you, as always, by Win Daily and Heat Ratio Sports and sponsored by the Sharp app, your one-stop shop for all things sports betting. And tonight, I have a great guest, as always. I like to bring you the fire from all things. I love on our Twitter profile, it just says Philly John, which is great because if you don't know what John is, then you're not from Philly. I have the illustrious Devan Kaney, the Eagles live post-game show co-host, Superbook Sports, props and bets. We have all things NLL, Philadelphia Wings. We're going to talk about that. Sideline reporter for ESPN, NBC Sports Philly. Devan Kaney, I don't know what else you can do I could fit into this, but thank you for joining me here on the Final Judgment.
Of course. Thank you for having me. And yeah, when people ask me like what my job is, I'm like, I honestly can't even fit it all in a Twitter bio. So you crushed that intro there.
I try. Because here's the thing: we got to give everybody their just due because everybody's wearing more than one or two hats in this industry, right? So we got to make sure we fit it all in. So let me ask you this right off the bat because I know your baby is the NLL, and I know it's the Philadelphia Wings, and you've literally gone from the ground up. I mean, you just keep doing more and more and more every year. How's that thing caught on, especially not only in the city of Philadelphia, but just nationally as well?
Yeah, it's really fun. It's been really fun to be a part of a sport that's growing so much. And over the years, I've definitely fallen in love with it, especially the Wings. I mean, it's kind of crazy that I just wrapped up my third season with them. And I was just talking to one of my other broadcasters where like, I feel like a lot of these players and coaches have become friends to me because it's a very close-knit community. So it's been super, super fun. Love the lacrosse world, and it's fun to have it cross over with the Philly sports world as well.
I'll tell you, I've been there multiple times, and it is nonstop action. I mean,
you went to a wild game. I remember you were at like, wasn't it? It was a game where there were like an insane amount of like record-breaking penalty minutes.
Yes, yeah. It was crazy. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. That was definitely an interesting first game to go to.
Yeah, it's definitely one that makes you want to go back. I could tell you that. That's for damn sure. It really does. Yeah. But one thing for sure, and we got a lot of excitement in so many different sports going on in Philadelphia, whether it be the Eagles, the Sixers, the Phillies. There's problems on every front. Opening day is tomorrow as we record this right here, which I can't wait. I don't know if you'll be down. I'll be down there. I can't wait. It's a tradition of mine. I go with my dad and my daughter and my two sons. So it's going to be great. The atmosphere looks good, but not even just talking about numbers, just like, can you feel just like being within, the Philadelphia sports media world, just a different excitement going on right now, talking about opening day in the Phillies?
Absolutely. This is probably the most excited I've felt the Philadelphia energy around the Philadelphia Phillies, like before the start of a season. And I don't think it's just the delayed start because of the whole lockout. Like it feels different this year. It really does. And honestly, I can say for the first time in many, many years, I am excited. I'm not going to be there, unfortunately, tomorrow because I have to go to my friend's birthday dinner, and I'm kind of upset because I want to be there. I want to see this team, this new look Phillies. They brought in the talent that they need, and I'm excited to see what they can do.
Yeah, listen, everybody talks about 2008, and we all remember how glorious that year was. Obviously, what a World Series championship, but just the excitement that was in that stadium for those 5 or 6 years in the Ryan Howard days and Chase Utley and Jimmy Rollins, and this has the same kind of illustrious feel to it. And coming from the pandemic to the lockout to finally getting this back, it's like, a great feat for any sports fan, not just locally, but nationally. So I got to ask you this. I know you're not a huge baseball better, but and it's good. Listen, I tell you all the time, sometimes they throw stuff at me all the time, and I'm just like, okay, I got to pivot a little bit, but it's all good. It's all fully transparent here. We all don't know everything. We all have our strengths, but Bryce Harper, just Bryce Harper alone. If I said to Devan Kaney right now, Bryce Harper is going to hit over 34 and a half or under 34 and a half home runs this year, coming off an MVP season. What do you think? How you feeling that way?
Over.
I'm with you. I love it. We don't bet unders, right, Devan? We don't bet unders. Who bets unders?
Never.
Never. You're always going over. So last one I'll say before we move on to the section. How about the Phillies win total? NL East is going to be strong. You have the Braves, obviously, are always strong. You have the Mets, who are already facing injury. You have the Marlins, the Nationals. But I think this is going to be a Mets and a Phillies race, in my opinion. But over and under is 86.5. I projected them at 91 wins. Everybody thinks I'm going jigsaw crazy, which is fine. That's how I got the nickname. But, 86.5. That we go over under on that number.
Over. We always go over.
Yeah, see, it's
That's the
easy.
rule.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. Yes, it's a Philly John rule. That's how we roll, right?
Exactly.
So there you have it. We're going over. And again, as always, you can follow Devin on Twitter at Devan Kaney. You can follow her on TikTok, sometimes on TikTok, right? I'll have Devin.Kaney as well. Just so many social formats for us all to follow. It's ridiculous anymore. I think I get more tired just trying to follow what the hell I'm doing as opposed to everybody else, right? It's just nuts.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts. But let's ride right into the Sixers real fast because this is supposed to be our year, right? So this is like, we have the MVP candidate, and this is what I have to ask you because I've been going nuts. You need to help me out. I need, a fellow Philadelphia John to help me out because I've been battling nationally with my Win Daily and Sirius guys all the time, and they keep telling me Jokic is the MVP. Joel Embiid shouldn't even sniff the top 3. You gotta help me out here, Devin. How is Joel Embiid not the MVP this year?
Oh, I have a simple answer for this. I was talking to my friend actually about it, she's a Toronto sports reporter. So she reports on the Raptors. I was talking to her about, obviously, a Sixers game tonight. And I don't think Joel Embiid is going to win simply because he's from Philadelphia and people love to hate Philadelphia. And I'm not trying to say that to get anyone's pity, but Tony, you have to, people don't ever want to give Philadelphia athletes, Philadelphia teams the respect that they deserve. And I think that is absolutely going to happen with Joel Embiid this year.
I feel the same way. And it's funny you say Toronto because one of my co-hosts is a Toronto brethren as well. And, I said the same thing. I said, this is all about it's like the old Tupac days, me against the world. I mean, that's what it's all about. It feels like that. Jason Kelsey was right. It's I don't
Absolutely.
get it.
I literally quoted him to her when she asked me, because she asked me on her podcast today, and I said, everyone hates us and we don't care. And she's like,
Yep.
Okay, and it's funny that everyone outside of Philly, also, side note, I'm in my car and it is pouring rain and thundering and lightning. So apologies if there's background noise.
Yeah, you sound fine. You sound fine. It's all good.
It is. I mean, hopefully this clears up for opening day tomorrow. But yeah, I quoted Jason Kelsey to her. I was like, everybody hates us. We don't care. And she kind of scoffed at me, but it's true. It is very true, whether people like to admit it or not. Philadelphia, even when we won this freaking Super Bowl, people don't want to give us the credit. It's like, oh, well, Malcolm Butler didn't play. It was a lucky moment. No one ever wants to admit when a Philadelphia team is good.
It's crazy. I honestly, I've been going nuts over the past 2 weeks battling because I don't understand it. I don't. I mean, I go down there. I had season tickets. I'm down there all the time, and I'm watching this guy absolutely destroy any opposition. And everybody they keep mentioning, Devin, is always offense. I'm now hearing Devin Booker. Well, does nobody ever talk about defense when it comes to the MVP? I thought it meant both sides of the floor, and nobody's giving Joel any credit. They only had 5 blocks, and 3 of them were in the fourth quarter. I don't.
No one gives it. Yeah, it's offensive, but for me, it's also the overall impact on a team. So if you look at what Joel Embiid has done this season, overcome that adversity of Ben Simmons, all of that drama, become a true leader on this team, and elevated the guys around him. I mean, I don't understand how you go with anyone else given the circumstances here.
Yeah, listen, I'm with you 100%. You hear it right now from 2 Philly Jones. Joel Embiid is the MVP. And as of right now, without LeBron really playing for the rest of the year, probably just going to be benched. You talk about Joel Embiid's going to win a scoring title. Okay, you heard it here. He's going to win a scoring title. That's just another feather in his cap. So, I don't think – I'll say this in closing. Most dominant big man I've seen in the NBA since Shaq. I don't think there's too many people that can disagree with that. So,
Right.
It's remarkable. But let's talk real fast playoff predictions. And I don't mean who they're going to play. Just your listen. We've been through a lot of heartbreak. These second round exits are just killing us. Obviously,
Mhm.
do you foresee them getting past the second round? I hope this year, or do you think it's some bad juju going on right now since we got James Harden?
So yes and no. I don't think it's since we got James Harden. Like I absolutely don't think all of a sudden the bad juju came in when James Harden came in.
So it seems like,
Um,
man.
I don't think so at all. I think he's still kind of finding his place on the team. I think there are a lot of issues, obviously, with Doc Rivers and that
Yup.
bench unit and the backup center position that
Brutal.
need work. And I think until we fix that, we fix the bench, we get better players in, as we get more depth. Essentially, I hate to say it, but I don't foresee us making it that far because we tend to beat ourselves.
We
The
do.
Sixers, I almost call them the Eagles. The Sixers
That's
beat
okay.
themselves consistently, and especially with this Matisse Thybulle, it is thundering so loud right now.
I just heard
Especially
that.
with this, yeah, that like shook my car. With this Matisse Thybulle situation in Toronto, like I'm not feeling optimistic. I want to be proved wrong so bad because
Yup.
it hurts my heart to look back on the season that Joel Embiid has had. And that's why I was so excited when we went for James Harden. We got him because I do think that we need to capitalize on the success Joel Embiid has had. And I know his window is pretty
Yes.
small, but I am confident if we do exit earlier than a lot of people are predicting this year, which I do think is a very, very big possibility, next season I think is championship or bust for the Sixers. Absolutely. I think you make a few more moves in the offseason, and then Joel Embiid's still back at full strength in the way he's been playing this year, and James Harden is more kind of integrated in the team. And yeah, I think we'll be good.
It's crazy because it went from this year NBA Finals or bust, and then all this Ben Simmons drama, and then you get James Harden for that 5 game sample size. You're like, oh my god, nobody's going to beat us, and then all of a sudden the wheels fall off with the Doc Rivers effect, and the bench doesn't show up, and yeah, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of good teams in the NBA. So one thing's for sure, they definitely have the promise and they have the pieces. So let's continue to hope. I can tell you this: forward thinking, this all season is going to be very interesting, in my opinion. So we should see
Yeah.
what happened. But speaking of all season, the last thing I want to talk to you about is Howie Roseman and the Eagles. Howie pulls a rabbit out of the hat again. And it is crazy because we talked about this last week on Heat Ratio Live, and we're sitting there and we're talking about the evolution of Howie Roseman and all the hatred that Howie gets. And for once, I'm usually the negative guy, but for once, I was actually backing Howie Roseman and thinking, you know what? Over the years, you look at all these bad, terrible teams in the NFL. The Eagles have never really been a terrible team under Howie. They've been always competitive. They've always been able to sign whoever they want, draft whoever they want, whether it didn't work out or not. That's the different story. But do you get the hatred for Howie Roseman, and do you feel that it's warranted, or do you think he gets a bad rap?
So it's hard because I don't know. I flip flop on him. I think for the most part he's okay. I liked the trade. I saw that trade with the Saints as essentially being insurance for Jalen Hurts,
Yep.
right? Like he works out, great. You have draft capital next year. He doesn't work out, great. You have first round picks next year. Um, I think I'm torn. I am mystified by Howie and the entire Eagles organization this offseason because we ended last season and I was really optimistic because I was like, okay, we've got more money in the bank. We have these early draft picks. We need to add more, defensive talent, more established receivers. And I know the draft hasn't happened yet, but so far in the offseason, I've been pretty underwhelmed by the moves that they've made. So I'm not loving that. To me, it seems like they're treating this as like a slow rebuild kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, this team, like you said it best, we don't like even when we have bad seasons, we don't like we're still never like the Lions. Like the Eagles are always
Right.
competitive. under Howie. And to me, it just doesn't make sense. Like, this team made the playoffs. Yeah, we lost horribly in the playoffs, but to take a team that was essentially brand new and bring them to the playoffs and then not give them the support and weapons they need to do it again, but even better next year, is it's mystifying to me. I just don't know. I'm not a fan of the slow build thing.
Listen, first of all, love the word. When you say mystified, I love that word. I'm a word guy. I love that. And you're spot on. It is. It's not what we want, obviously. And I'm actually a Jalen Hurts guy, and I want to see him succeed. And I'm not here to say, oh, he sucks and he can't play quarterback, and not like some of these other yahoos that you find on the Twitter line. But what I'm saying is, I like, the only thing I will say to close out is for the final judgment is say, I'm glad that they're giving him another year to finally showcase eventually what I think he could be, which is a good quarterback. Do I think he's going to be a great quarterback? No. Do I think he's going to be a good serviceable quarterback? Yes. And there have been good serviceable quarterbacks in the NFL that have been able to do really good things. So that's the one thing I will say. And you brought up the trade. That's tough for me. At first I was kind of like, oh, here we go again, giving away picks. But I look at it now,
right?
Because again, feeling inside of me, it's like, I just want to win now. I'm tired of waiting,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't want to play the waiting game. We've been through this with the tanking and everything, but I think in the end, it's still a filling out period between the coach. They want to make sure they have the right coach, and hopefully at least will be somewhat competitive. Extra team, extra game. You're going to different playoff format. So I think we'll at least have that. But let me close it out on this. I like to ask this because I think it's very important. I talk about the women in sports movement, and the reason why I do that is it's very close to me. I have a daughter who's going to be 20. Actually, she is 22 now. I'm so damn old now. But graduating college, and she loves sports, and she's going to school for sports psychology. And I love that, because you're all over the place. You're award shows, banquets. You're doing it all, and it's wonderful. And I want your opinion on this, because this is what I always say. It sucks, in my opinion, that we have to have a movement, because I would hope that it would have just happened without a movement. But at the same time, I'm glad that we have it to exemplify everybody that should have been exposed before. So just your overall thoughts on that.
My overall thoughts on it. I love working in sports. I am, in fact, a woman. I've never called it a movement before. I have nothing against that term, but I would say that if there is a movement, it would be for everyone, not just men who work in sports, not just women who work in sports, but everyone, to really listen to and respect women in roles that aren't just, a sideline reporter or a host,
Yep.
And if you do work in sports and you have the power, hire women as analysts, hire women as sports talk radio hosts, give women a platform to share their opinions and do more than just ask quick questions on the sideline, or kind of anchor a show, because that's typically all we're given. And I think we're seeing more and more change in that area. But I think it all comes down to just everyone's perception of women. And for the most part, people don't want to hear. They feel that if a woman makes an opinion, they don't take it as seriously than if a man does. So I think just being more open-minded when it comes to roles for women in sports.
I love that answer. No, I like that. It's so damn true. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Why does there have to be limitations, right? That's the thing. Why does there have to be limitations? No, I completely agree. And so you hear that, everybody? Get Devan Kaney her damn radio show. Get her own radio show out there, right? This is what we're propping it up right now. Why? Right? Listen, it is true. But Devan, as always, listen, you were in the Thunder, the Lightning. Thankfully, we acted as like your kryptonite tonight to keep you safe in that car.
You did.
I
And I
completely
apologize for
appreciate it.
joining from my car. Next time, I promise I won't.
Listen, it's all good. Technology nowadays, everything works. You sounded fantastic. Answers were spot on. And again, I really appreciate it. And I'd love to have you back on once the season starts and we could really talk some real hardcore football. So again,
Yes, of course.
yeah, it'll be here before we know it. We know that the draft is right
Hopefully,
around the
I miss
corner.
football season so much.
Oh, I know. Don't we all? Don't we all? So as always, thank you everybody for tuning in. It's your host, Tony Cutillo. Follow me at Cutillo23. Follow at Devan Kaney. As always, a Final Judgment, Heat Ratio, Win Daily Sports. Everybody have a great night, and we'll catch you next episode.